weight gain takes time, just like real weight loss takes time. And I think another part of the problem is that we're so programmed for like quick weight loss, right? Which we notice it never sticks. Like quick weight loss never works when you look at it. And there's study after study after study that show that it doesn't work.
You're watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.
Hi, friend. Welcome back. Today we're going to chat about losing weight and the struggle to lose weight. Now, I have Shelby and Maine here in the studio with me. Friends, have you guys ever struggled to lose weight? Or is it just me? Am I the only one?
You're not alone.
I'm
all the time.
Okay, perfect. So the three of us here have all had this experience. And, you know, so many women have this experience of just being in I felt like a battle, like this struggle to feel comfortable in your body and to drop unwanted pounds. And for me, it all started back in 1995 when I was 14 years old, going back to school shopping and wanting to buy some really cool Calvin Klein jeans. If you were around in the 90s, then you know what I'm talking about. And having just a moment in the dressing room that I was reduced to tears looking at myself and realizing, like, I don't look the way I want to look. This body doesn't feel comfortable. And then really entering into this cycle of struggling to lose weight and feeling like I was just locked into a battle. And so here I am many years later, and I've got some wisdom here. I've got some tips that I want to talk to you about and really share how the things that I've learned have transformed my relationship with food and my relationship with my body. Because at the end of the day, you know, on the show, we talk about how our body is made of these different systems, and our physical body is the most immediate part of this system, right? This is what you experience the world in. And when we gain weight and when we feel disconnected from our body and when we feel out of control, like we cannot control the size of our body or even the things that we eat, it throws everything else off, right? How can we have positive thoughts and how can we have productive emotions when we feel bad in the body that we're living in? And so today, that's the topic we're going to talk about. And I want to share this book because this book is amazing. So anyone who has ever struggled with their weight or has questions or has just felt this disconnect that I'm talking about where, you know, what you eat and how you feel and your weight just being this almost like you're a slave to this process of trying to lose weight. It's called The Obesity Code and it's by Dr. Jason Fung. And friends, I'm on my fourth time through this book because the information that he shares and the studies that he goes into, they're mind-boggling when you realize what we've been taught. I've been in fitness for 20 years, right? I was that chubby 14-year-old kid that then turned to fitness, that then turned to like marathon running, and I did all kinds of things to try to keep the two things I loved, which was food and then having a fit body. I wanted both, and it's this constant struggle. And the premise that I was going off of for 20 years and that you're probably going off of is calories in versus calories out. And this, right, Maine?
Ew.
Right? Yeah. And it makes you think and feel that it's all your fault, right? You're somehow failing if you're gaining weight because even when you cut your calories and even when you push yourself through workouts and lose sleep to get to the gym, the scale doesn't turn out the way you want to. And so for me, I felt like I was going crazy. Shelby's nodding her head. Shelby gets it. Maine gets it. And so my own personal journey, I got to a place earlier this year where I was like, I'm done with this struggle. Like, I'm done with feeling guilty about eating food that I like. Feeling just shame around my body and feeling like I'm at war with myself. And so I had already read The Obesity Code once, And when I kind of got to this point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm done weighing my food. Like, I threw my food scale away because who wants to weigh their food? There's something like, I don't know, dehumanizing about having to weigh your food and only eating a certain number of ounces of something. Like, we're not designed to live this way, but we're also not designed to be overweight, right? That doesn't feel right. That's not good. And so when I got to this point, I remembered, like, you've listened to the Obesity Code. Like, you remember what Dr. Jason Fung said. And I've been working with Dr. Benjamin Bickman, and he studies insulin resistance. And so I already have a base knowledge of the impact of hormones on weight loss and weight gain. So I'm almost sharing that with a little bit of embarrassment because it's like I kind of already knew that there was something bigger at play here, but I was so ingrained in this idea that it's all about working out, it's all about controlling what you eat, and you should be embarrassed and ashamed of yourself if you can't look like a fitness model, right? It was just been so ingrained in us. And so this little voice in the back of my head was like, wait, that book by Dr. Jason Fung. And so I've listened to it multiple times after that, and really what he goes into, and this is, again, you have to suspend disbelief because it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like anything you've ever been taught. But when you look at everybody out there, like, are we doing the right thing? Like, do we know how to lose weight? If you look today more than ever, I think about back when my grandma was my age. So back in like the 50s, when women were just slender. Like, nobody went to the gym. Like, grandma wasn't out there like jogging, right, in the 50s. Nobody was weighing their food. Nobody was like, we're only eating protein and fiber. Like, what happened in like 2 generations? The answer, my friends, is insulin. And shifting our mind from thinking it's all about calories and being so arrogant to think that we control all the calories that we expend by exercise, which hopefully you're going to read or listen to the Obesity Code, but there's so many studies that show when you eat fewer calories, your body burns fewer calories. It just makes sense. Like, our bodies are so smart, and we've been operating in a way that's counterintuitive. And so going back to that feeling of struggle that I finally just gave up on several months ago, it's counterintuitive because we're not understanding how our body uses energy and burns energy. And first of all, I don't know about you, but this kind of pisses me off. That why did I have to struggle for so long? And why is this book and books like this that talk about hormones, friends, because it's not calories, it's hormones. And now we have to learn, what does that even mean? What does it mean to eat for your hormones? What does it mean to eat to reduce your insulin? What is even insulin, right? Who knows? Unless you're type 2 diabetic or type 1 diabetic, who thinks about insulin? Shelby, do you think about your insulin every day? Maine? Right. Exactly. And so, for me, being in the fitness industry for 20 years and never once thinking about my insulin, but then reading the Obesity Code and learning that chewing sugar-free gum can spike your insulin. Drinking a diet soda can spike your insulin. Putting stevia in coffee in the morning can spike your insulin. And learning all these things where we've been working against ourselves. And it's like, we knew it. I felt that I was working against myself. I felt that it shouldn't be this hard to try to have a lean and healthy body. And so I am excited to share what I've been doing. And it's directly out of Jason's book. But essentially, giving your body big breaks from food, and not just food, but anything, any sweeteners, anything. And this is intermittent fasting, essentially is what it's called. And there's so many different ways to do it. The way that I've been doing it for the past 3 months is that I'm fasting for 20 hours, and then I have an eating window that's 4 hours. And that sounds super extreme because I'm a very extreme person and I do everything to the extreme. And I told myself I'm going to do this for 18 months. and see how it goes. And so I'm 3 months into it, and so much has happened in 3 months with my relationship with my body and my relationship with food. And so when I first started making this change, it took me about a month to get to the place where I could fast for 20 hours. I mean, essentially starting with a 12-hour fast. When you think about a 12-hour fast, if you finish dinner at 7 and then you eat breakfast at 7 a.m., 7 p.m. dinner, 7 a.m. breakfast, that's a 12-hour fast, right? It's pretty doable. And it's something that was simple for me to start. Okay, 12-hour fast, check, got that. And then to expand it, 14 hours. Okay, now instead of having breakfast at 7, we're having breakfast at 9, then pushing that back to 12 and getting to a place for me, again, no, doesn't mean that you need to do it this way, but for me, 20 hours of fasting and then a 4-hour window. And I told myself, since I'm trying out this whole intermittent fasting, to give my body these huge periods of having no insulin released because all I'm doing is drinking water. I told myself in the 4-hour window, I'm going to eat whatever I want because I'm done with the struggle. I'm done with this is good and this is bad. And if you look over just what we've been taught, you can vilify every single food group. And we have, right? I mean, for myself personally, I've been vegetarian for several years. I was vegan, then I was raw vegan. I've been keto, I've been paleo, like name a diet. Shelby, name a diet. I've literally all the diets, weighing my food, eating 6 times a day, all the things, right? And so I told myself I'm committing to this premise that weight gain is due to insulin, right? Increased levels of insulin in our body. And if none of that makes sense right now, that's totally fine. I know this is a completely new idea for why we gain weight and why we lose weight. So changing this whole schema of how to understand the body, I was like, look, for the first time in my life since I was 14 years old, in that 4-hour window, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And let me tell you, I had a lot of fun with it for the first few weeks because, when you feel so deprived all the time, it wears you down. It wears you down after years and years and years of feeling that what you want is wrong and not giving yourself what you want. So the first several weeks, I ate whatever I wanted. And it wasn't always, things that fitness people eat. And what was really cool, and it's a process that I'm still going through, I can tell, is this thing called appetite correction. And so as your hormones, the biggest one being insulin, start to regulate themselves in a better, more healthy way, you start to crave the right things. And for me, a big thing is sugar. As, a 14-year-old, I would bake, and it was just all about sugar, sugar, sugar. And when I realized that sugar was leading to this weight gain, it was like, okay, sugar is what you want, but you can't have it. But I still, kind of like the little kid in me was still like, well, I still want sugar. So I always had this feeling of not giving myself what I want. And so in the beginning weeks of my 4-hour window, eat whatever you want, I was eating some sugar, which is unheard of for me. And at first it was really fun and exciting. And then I started to notice how my body was feeling in response to the foods. Because when you take 20 hours away from food in a 24-hour period, and then you start to eat food in your window, you feel what it does to your body. All of the noise and all of the just kind of clouding when you're eating all day or you're drinking things with flavor all day, it's just all really muddied, connecting what you're putting in your body to how you feel. And then it all gets much more clear when you distill all your eating down to a window and you start to make these connections of okay, these foods make me feel good. These foods make me sleep better. And it's such a cool thing to really be putting down this struggle and to start almost learning how to be healthy in a self-motivated, intrinsic way. I'm going to eat the salad and the protein and some healthy carbs because I want to, and I know I could eat anything I want, and then getting just this natural weight loss. How does that sound, Shelby? It's a completely different lens to look at your body. But again, when you look at where we are as a society, we're doing things wrong. And then this kind of goes back to my anger of like, okay, this information has been out there. And then when you start going down this rabbit hole of like, okay, well, what other books has Dr. Fung written? And then, Amazon will recommend all these other things. It's like, wow, there's so much information out there about how intermittent fasting is really the key. Well, he says it right here. It's the key to controlling your weight. And what he doesn't say in this little subtitle, but what I've been experiencing, is that it's the key to freedom. It's the key to freedom from the struggle of eating and weight gain and feeling like you're against your own body. Your body's against you. Your appetite's against you. It's finding this harmony. And it, if you look back again, so going back to my grandma, who never went to the gym, never put on tennis shoes to go jogging like I've done for years and years, and she was slim her whole life, but look at her eating habits. She didn't drink diet sodas. She didn't drink regular sodas. She didn't drink flavored coffees or teas throughout the day. She had 3 square meals, and in between her meals, there was nothing. She wasn't eating anything. Maybe she would drink some water. And that's just the way people lived. They ate, and then they took a break from eating, and then they ate, right? It's the way it was. And then you look today, and there's so much advertising. There's so much foods. We're told, like, snack to keep your metabolism up, right? Like, drink 0-calorie, artificially sweetened beverages, and you're fine because it doesn't impact your blood sugar. Well, it impacts your insulin, right? And so, this feeling of like, why didn't anybody tell us? Why doesn't somebody like make big headlines? Like, hey, everybody, like, it's not calories, it's insulin. And if you think about it, it's because nobody makes money when you don't eat. Nobody makes money. And when I just look at my own eating habits and how much they've changed over the last few months, I mean, for one, I would always carry a little thing of stevia with me because, of course, I wasn't going to be putting sugar and stuff. And I would sweeten everything. And I would feel good about myself. Like, look, I'm not drinking sugar. Not realizing that the sweetness on my palate was releasing insulin in my body, and that insulin is putting me into fat storage mode, and it was keeping me stuck in the cycle. I stopped buying the stevia. There's so many things I stopped buying. You think about it, 20 hours a day, all I'm drinking is water, and water from the tap is free, right? No one's making money off me. And so sadly, this is why the answer to the struggle is just, it doesn't get out there. And so today I'm happy that we're talking about this because I don't want others to continue to go through a struggle like I have. And, I'm 3 months into this, and I told myself I'm going to do an 18-month trial run, I guess, for 20-hour fast every day, 4-hour eating window, which really that means at 6 p.m. I start eating from 6 to 10. So it really doesn't impact my day-to-day life very much at all because I never eat dinner before 6 p.m. anyway. So during the evening hours when I'm, with the family and stuff, I'm eating whatever I want. I'm not weighing food. You're able to socialize and all of that. But I've committed to doing this for 18 months because another thing that we learn when we really look at the studies is that weight gain takes time, just like real weight loss takes time. And I think another part of the problem is that we're so programmed for like quick weight loss, right? Which we notice it never sticks. Like quick weight loss never works when you look at it. And if you hopefully read the Obesity Code, and hopefully this has really interested you because the science in here is crazy. There's study after study after study that show that it doesn't work. Quick weight loss doesn't work. What you have to do, the way that Dr. Fung explains it is like your internal thermostat for your hormones. So your hormone thermostat has to be turned down. So he kind of has this analogy of if it's hot in the room, opening a window to try to control the heat, right? Like, okay, we want it to cool down. Let's open a window. Or don't worry about the window. You're going to change the thermostat, right? And that fixes the actual problem, which is that heat is being pumped into the room. And so that opening that window is like, I'm going to eat fewer calories. I'm going to try to, exercise more. And it's this very temporary, like, yeah, you might get a little gust of cold air in, but you've still got this heat pumping into the room because you haven't fixed the thermostat. And so knowing that it takes time for your body to adjust those hormones, months and months, while you will start seeing those results, and feeling the freedom and the power that really this intermittent fasting gives you, just sticking with it long enough to allow your body to down-regulate all of that insulin. And it's humbling to realize that even as someone in fitness who would use the stevia, not the sugar, drink the protein shakes, do all the things that I was supposed to do, realizing like I had higher insulin than I should have. And that's evidenced by the fact that my weight was higher than it should have been. And that's another thing, like noticing, like, why is my doctor overweight? Why are many personal trainers overweight? It's because they don't have this good information either, right? They're working off that premise of let's eat fewer calories, which makes our body burn less calories. And then let's try to work out really hard, which is really not going to get us where we want to go. There's a lot of information. I'm clearly very pumped up about this subject. And I'm going to keep checking in with you and letting you know how my journey is going to go with this 18 months. Like I said, I'm 3 months in, and the weight loss has been like it would have been if I was doing a very extensive challenge. But of course, I'm not. I'm doing a 20-hour fast. I'm eating what I want during the 4-hour window. And then I am working out because I love to work out, and going back to really working out because it feels good and not working out because you feel this pressure to work out. All right, friends, your extra credit for today is read this book. Read or listen to the Obesity Code and start to change your understanding of why we gain weight. Why is our society in the state that it's in? And how simply can we turn it all around? I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know, like, have you struggled with your weight? Drop us a comment. Like, is this something that resonates with you? Have you heard of, insulin being responsible for weight gain versus calories? Like, give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.